Meeting called to order. Today is Tuesday, December 17th. Special town council meeting, in town council chamber, 1170 Main Street, West Warwick, Rhode Island.
Roll call. Councilman Dennison?
Here.
Councilman Lichardi?
Here.
Councilman Messier?
Here.
Council Vice President Williamson?
Here.
Council President Goslin?
Here.
And for the school committee, Chair Lewis Cologne. Vice Chair Rainey Kutu. Joseph DiMartino.
Here.
And Angela Coburn. And Dennis Peacock. All right. Quorum is declared for the town council. Statutory pre-budget consultation between the West Warwick School Committee and the West Warwick Town Council pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 16-2-21 and a review of revenue and expenditure projections.
Wants to go.
Just want to go first?
Yeah.
First,
you want?
Yeah.
This is our annual joint meeting, as Sarah just said. In your packets are what I am estimating right now, our revenues for fiscal year 2026. A couple of changes, I'm going down a little bit on prior year tax revenue because without motor vehicle, we're just not collecting it. And I just want to kind of gradually every year just take it down. I'm also going down a little bit on penalty and interest because without the prior year tax payments, we're not getting the interest. In the school state aid, what I plug in right now is what we're getting for what the actual is for our school state aid for fiscal year 25, because they don't have the projections out for 26 yet. And then I always factor a 2% on the levy for now to be conservative. Does anyone have any questions on the revenues?
No, we should point out to everyone that this is all very preliminary.
Very preliminary.
It's required by state law.
Yep.
And that we're just doing what we need to do.
Exactly. Okay,
Thank you, Krista.
Karen, you're up.
Good evening. Nice to see everybody. As always, thank you for the opportunity to come before you. As Mary Beth said, this is a very preliminary overview of where we are in our FY26 budget. At this point, our draft budget is not yet complete, but we are on track to have our draft budget to the town manager the first week in February per town charter. And as always, when we build our budget, we keep in mind not only the needs of the district and the students, but the town at large and the town council's budget. And we look forward to continuing our longstanding productive partnership to make sure that school department needs are met and in partnership with the town, your needs are met as well. So with that, I will ask Lisa to come up with further remarks.
Good evening. I'd like to share some key points about our current standings and the considerations we are taking into account for our fiscal 26 budget. Estimated expenses for fiscal 26 is currently a work in progress and it is not complete. Over the past 4 years, the average increase in budget was 5%. The reasons for increases are primarily attributed to contractual salary increases, additional staffing essentials to meet the diverse needs of our students. Also, we will continue to see a rise in out-of-state students and heightened costs associated with natural gas rates and transportation. At this time, our request for the town is still pending. Over the past 5 years, the average annual increase in state aid has been approximately $2.3 million. We are optimistically expecting that this trend will continue for FY26. There is a potential that we will have to tap into our fund balance to support operations for fiscal 26. It is crucial to emphasize that using the fund balance is not a long-term solution. Repeated reliance on these funds each year poses the risk of putting the district in structural deficit the coming years. I want to reiterate that this is a very preliminary budget. Our team is committed to actively working to mitigate the impact on the town, and we will continue refining our approach as we progress. Your collaboration and understanding during these early stages of our budget planning for FY26 are immensely appreciated. We look forward to working together to ensure a sustainable and effective budget for the upcoming fiscal year. Thank you.
Now, I don't know if that's Lisa's first time here, and you did a terrific job. Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Any questions from the council? Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that's it for this item. Looking to adjourn. Yeah. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We'll move on to the next.
Thanks, I will see you. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Merry Christmas.
You too. All right.
Meeting called to order. Today is Tuesday, December 17th. It is now 6:08 PM. Town Council meeting at Town Council Chambers, 1170 Main Street, West Warwick, Rhode Island. Jay, lead us in prayer.
We ask for the wisdom to make good decisions, to speak with confidence and listen with compassion, and to work together to create a better way of life for the people of West Warwick. Amen.
Jay, listen to the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Councilman Dennison?
Here.
Councilman Charlie?
Here.
Councilman Messier?
Here.
Council Vice President Williamson?
Here.
And Council President Goslin?
Here.
For Mr. Claire. Consent agenda, approval of minutes from the November 19th, 2024 town council meeting, the December 3rd executive session, and the December 3rd regular town council.
Move the consent agenda.
Second. Moving second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Ordinances, second read, sorry.
I make a motion to move item number I-9 and I-11 up on the agenda.
Second.
Moving second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
So 9 and 11?
Yes.
So resolution approving the Tectron contract for the stage 2 submission to RIDE.
Aaron or Chris?
I'll take the first part, if you will. Before you is a standard American Institute of Architects template agreement that's been reviewed by our owners' representatives at left field, reviewed by the school building committee, and then approved for a recommendation to the town council by the school committee. And it's a contract that allows our Tecton to assess our stage 1 report, and review all of the opportunities and come up with proposals to fulfill the needs that were identified in our stage 1 and assist us with our presentation to RIDE on our stage 2 submission. There's a lot of responsibility. It's a very hefty job, and they've been a pleasure to work with to date. There's a carve out for some supplemental services in there should our eventual proposals require that, for a traffic study and a geotechnical study that are implanted. But the base contract is for approximately $856,000. Will be funded through the school department's surplus account.
And that is reimbursable, correct?
It is all part of the eventual submission, which we expect to be approximately 68% from RIDE throughout the term of our project. If you have specific questions, our owner representative Chris is here, but I think everything's been vetted thoroughly and we're prepared to move forward.
Any questions for the town manager, superintendent, or Chris Spiegel?
No, I would actually just say that Tecton has been a pleasure to work with. They've been very responsive. They, when you have a question or you have an idea at the next meeting, they are absolutely there with thoughts and suggestions and work very well with Chris. And yeah, I think we'd be silly. I don't know that we could have a better partner at this point in time.
Any other comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
School building committee update?
To go along with that, we have our next public engagement tomorrow evening at the high school in auditorium, starting at 6 o'clock, should last until approximately 7. Again, working well with Tecton and Left Field, we've narrowed down our proposals significantly, so we expect to discuss those a little more in depth tomorrow evening, and be able to share publicly what our likely paths are going to be. So we encourage everyone's attendance there to learn more. If you can't go, all that information is posted on the website. There's all the past history where we've been, and the different documents are all available there.
Any questions for Mark?
Anything you want to add? Either the superintendent or Chris?
No, I just reiterate Mark's. Just reiterate town manager and Mary Beth, your remarks about working with Tecton. They have been wonderful and they've been great. Stage 2 submission is February 15th, so we're really getting down to the wire and wrapping up, stage 2. So I just want to thank everybody for your approving the contract tonight for Tecton, but also your participation in the conversation, and I think we're making a lot of good headway. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We have to- Transaction.
For the regular?
Yep.
Sorry. No, you're fine, no problem, just want to make sure. Ordinances, second reading of ordinance 2024-23, adding section 11.5-5-5.51, service of process to the code of ordinances.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Moving second, any discussion? This is a second read.
Yes.
Any public discussion on this ordinance? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Jay?
Yes.
Chase?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Mary Beth?
Yes.
And I vote.
Second reading of ordinance 2024-24, amending appendix C traffic ordinances, stop signs at the intersection of Shady Hill Drive and Quaker Drive.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Moving second, any discussion? We went over this very in-depth last council meeting,
When will that be put in?
20 days after.
I mean, and we'll be able to do that. Jeff?
The sign's already up there.
Oh, never mind. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Are they enforced?
No, not yet. That's right.
All right, any public comment on this? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Jay?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Mary Beth?
Yes.
And I vote yes. I do it.
You did it. Usually.
I know.
I'm Jay, he's chasing. We figured it out.
Me on my toes to make sure I get them right. Business licenses.
Move the business licenses.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion from the council? Any public discussion on these licenses? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. The licenses that were just approved. Overwave. Did I get that right? Cheese General Store, all pool table licenses, all bingo licenses have been approved.
Resolution authorizing the release of residual ARPA funds from various projects from 2022 to 2020.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
As you're all aware, all ARPA funds need to be properly obligated by December 31st, 2024. So before you, these are two projects that were approved in 2022, one in 2022, one in 2023, that came in slightly under budget. So we're formally requesting that these funds be released back into the pool that will be asked for a proposal to re-obligate in a few minutes.
Any questions for Mark? Thank you, Mark. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it.
So I have one question. So if we have this allotment of money left over and it doesn't cost as much when we get everything done, is that money just gone? Can that be?
It could be, but the next three things on the agenda are we're obligating it under a new method by the US Treasury. They've asked us to come up with an interdepartmental agreement or a memorandum of understanding that lays out some scopes of work as we obligate the money. And it's a little more broad, I should say, the way we've crafted it. So, for example, we'll have one for IT infrastructure improvements. There is some flexibility in there because the prices aren't 100% firm yet, but we'll purchase within the amount that's encumbered to get what we need.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All- You already did all in favor on that, right? Sorry, I was looking
Just
at
like
something
put the
else.
signs up. Thank you.
We're ahead of the game. No, I was just looking at something else. Like I was trying to figure out what A was like you had.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was.
For the record, if anybody wants to know what 3A is, Club Instruct, it's in Portuguese, but that's the Portuguese,
PIC.
PIC.
Approval of an interdepartmental agreement related to previously obligated ARPA funds and resolution 2023-61 for the purchase of a ladder truck and engine.
Move the resolution.
Again, as I mentioned, this is what I'll call a formality based on guidance from US Treasury to properly obligate the funds. The next three items are money that you have already approved through resolution to expend ARPA money, but just to protect our interest and obligate the funds according to US Treasury guidelines. We've prepared these interdepartmental agreements. So the first one before you is an agreement between the finance and the fire department that before the end of 2026 spending deadline, they will properly expend the $400,000 approved towards ladder and engine.
And actually, because I asked the town manager earlier today, might you explain how this form came to be?
So the finance director and I asked, this was suggested, and we asked other communities through the League of Cities and Towns if anyone else had drafted something or used something similar. This form, for the most part, was designed by North Kingston, I believe. It was circulated through the league, and I believe every community is adopting it in some form. We made some slight changes based on the way our administration is set up and some terminology, but essentially it's the same form now across the state that all the communities will be using to encumber their money over the next 2 weeks.
Any questions for Mark? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Approval of an interdepartmental agreement related to previously obligated ARPA funds in resolution SC 2024-21 and 20 for purchase of a camera truck.
Move the resolution.
Again, same or base story. As the clerk mentioned, this was money that's been obligated for the purchase of a camera truck, a significant portion of it through American Rescue Plan funds for the wastewater treatment facility.
Any questions for Mark?
Actually, just, so it's been designated for that. Suppose the truck doesn't come in time, something crazy. I don't.
Hopefully my gut is that hopefully we'd find another truck. I
Okay.
mean, we have until the end of 2026 to
Right.
get it, so
Okay,
I know the fire trucks are coming soon.
okay,
This one is expected in less than a year, so.
thank you.
Any other comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Approval of an interdepartmental agreement related to previously obligated ARPA funds in resolution 2024-24 for rehabilitation of roads.
Move the resolution.
Second.
again, the same base, this is residual money left over from this year's paving project that will either cover some retention or use for funding in this year's or 2025's paving projects.
Any questions for Mark on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it.
Resolution authorizing the use of ARPA funds. In an interdepartmental agreement for the rehabilitation of Warwick Youth Center.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second.
So the following three resolutions are actually requests to spend ARPA funds, the remaining balance, which is, I believe, slightly more than $500,000 that need to be obligated. This first one is request to dedicate the $4,649 to the police department to replace a portion of the epoxy flooring in the gym restroom at the youth center.
Any questions for Mark? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it.
Resolution authorizing the use of ARPA funds in an interdepartmental agreement for the purchase of IT infrastructure.
Move the resolution.
Second.
So I'll introduce Jeff Burnett, our new IT director, for those that haven't met him. But the Cliff Note version, not to steal anything that he's going to say, is we deferred some cyber and IT infrastructure investment during our fiscal year budget planning for capital in the middle of last year. Specifically, I wanted to wait until we had an internal IT director to help us properly guide us in setting our priorities and looking out for our best interests. And I think Jeff has come on board a little more than a month ago now, working diligently on 4 or 5 projects that we deem are significantly important. This being the most important, and it's only been exacerbated by what's been in the news this weekend. But I'll defer to him to give kind of brief remarks on what the plan is.
Good evening, council. Jeff Burnett. I've been here, like Mark said, a little over a month, and drinking water from a fire hose. But thank you for bringing me on board. Primarily, some of the cyber attacks that occur caused by end-of-life hardware, software, security equipment. This is some of the things that we're doing with the proposal that's in front of you, and if it is approved, will enhance the security posture of the town. The servers that we have in place, the platforms that are in place, some of the PCs that are part of this project are all at end of life or nearing end of life. And to get them out of the infrastructure is key to keeping the town secure. So I am asking that we, if you could possibly move this forward and to approve it and let us get to work on that. There are other things that will be coming. The state of Rhode Island and Rhode Island Emergency Management, they are actively working with cities and towns to offer grants. We are working with them to get us in line for that, not leaving any stone unturned.
So specifically, this request for American Rescue Plans funds is for $235,000, which is for the upgrade and replacement of, I'd say, approximately a third of our desktops, about 30 to 35.
It's a 5-year plan.
So we're getting that cycle started. In addition to, I think, up to 4 servers and the associated software and very expensive licensing that go along with that.
Yeah, Microsoft has changed their license structure. I'm sure a lot of people know that, and a lot of that they end of life very quickly now. Any other questions for me?
Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Any questions for Jeff? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it.
Resolution authorizing the use of ARPA funds in an interdepartmental agreement for the rehabilitation of roadways during the 2025 construction.
Move the resolution.
So this resolution is a multi-part. If you recall, a little over a month ago, we awarded the contract to do work to Vinagro Materials LLC of Johnston. I'm proposing that we utilize up to 900, slightly more than $990,000 for our 2025 road rehabilitation projects. I'm proposing the funding be available from $267,207.11 from American Rescue Plan funds, which to the penny is exhaust our American Rescue Plan funds. A little more than $323,000 of Rhode Island Department of Transportation reimbursement funds from our 2023 and 2024 municipal road and bridge programs. If you recall, the last 2 years, RIDOT gave us 33% of our investment back. So I intentionally tried to hold on to those funds for a year when we'd be exhausting our American Rescue Plan funds. And then the last part of this is $400,000 from our accrued interest from the account where we stored our ARPA funds. So that will continue to grow a little bit as we're not going to do this work until the spring. And plus the other expenditures aren't going to be processed, probably some of them for a year. So we'll still have some of that residual interest, hopefully to use in the 2026 construction process, should you approve that, in addition to approximately $184,000 reimbursable through RIDOT. They have limited funds as they're trying to exhaust their ARPA funds as well. So they've only approved West Warwick for a little more than $500,000, of which $184,000 or $182,000 being our 33% return on that.
Any questions for Mark? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution authorizing the acceptance of the American Rescue Plan Act State Fiscal Recovery Fund Municipal Public Safety Infrastructure Project Grant Award for the West Warwick Fire Department Station 1 improvements and approval of matching funds.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Move second.
So I'll invite the chief up to give specifics on his part, but essentially we were offered a grant from the state of Rhode Island's Pandemic Recovery Office for the state working to expend and obligate its American Rescue Plan money. So they've awarded us a little more than $574,000, which unfortunately, this type of grant is coming with a 50% match. However, the application that the chief put forward, we collectively feel is an extremely important one, valuable to maintain our infrastructure. So we think it's a worthwhile investment. So essentially, we're asking this evening for you to formally accept the grant and also obligate the match, 50% match, $574,250 from FY24 surplus funds and or anticipated FEMA recovery funds upon receipt. I'll defer to the chief to describe his application in better detail.
So, the town over the past couple of years have taken initiatives to look into the roof and other infrastructure. One of the things that we did in the fire station was to do core sampling in our floor. Although the floor in several sections needs to get replaced. It's not an immediate need, and a failure of the floor would be gradual. It, by their recommendation, needs to get replaced, and that's the bulk of the award. So that's around $660,000 to do that project. Also in the fire station, we have several holes in the roof. We have water leaking in several different sections on the second floor. And I know there's also leaking in this side, and I believe in the police side. So the second component of this would be to put a new roof on the entire public safety complex, which incorporates town hall. The third, as this is going on, we have some old infrastructure for our communications on the fire side. So we've gotten a quote to replace the antennas on the roof. This is our backup. So if the Factory Street Tower were to, for some reason, fail, we'd be working off of the antennas on the roof of this building.
So, it is vitally important. It is a redundant system, but, it's also something that's necessary to keep up. And, when we saw this, funding available, we took advantage of, that application.
So all that can be done for the $1 million?
Yes, so we've, contract, so we've had an engineer, we have a price for the engineer to do that, the drawing for the floor. Okay, and, the quotes for the roof, were ascertained through the building official. We got quotes to do the antennas from. We're confident in.
And are we 100% certain we will get this grant?
Yes, it's been offered to us, that's why it's before, you.
Okay,
Yes, so we have been offered, so.
okay, we'll take advantage of it.
Approval.
Obviously, no, it's free money, right?
Again, they need it committed by the 20th, so they're under their deadline as well.
Okay.
Any other questions for the chief? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.
Great. New business 09 was previously considered. New business 10, update on Crompton Playground project.
So we're very excited about this one. I had hopes to have some pictures to offer, but there was a lot of work and activity going on there today and with the rain, so I'll just give you the verbal one. I'd say it's probably 96, if not better, percent finished. I drove by there late this afternoon. It looked like almost all of the paving was done. The plantings are in. It's been hydro seeded. There's a couple little attachments they need to put on some of the equipment, which we may or may not do until the spring. It looks absolutely phenomenal. Like I said, there's just some punch list items left. And right now it's within budget. One of the things that we deferred in order to stay in budget is some of the, like the benches, the picnic tables, and if we wanted to install some chairs and trash receptacles around. So, speaking to Councilman Licciardi, we put together sort of the wish list, price list, and we'll consider asking to see if people would like to sponsor those items and put a remembrance plaque on them or something similar that we can do over the winter. So it'll be fully operational and ready to go for the spring. Once these punch list items are done, we can decide based on the weather if we want to host a grand opening now or wait until spring. But it looks phenomenal.
It's great.
And we're allowing people to use it.
It's still fenced in now. They're still doing work. They were actively work, so the construction fence is still there. Again, they have some minor fencing to reattach the basketball hoop. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I took us far on that saw 3 weeks ago. I think you happened to be down there today, pulled up.
It's significantly changed even since then. A lot's happened over the last couple of weeks. Yeah.
And is the space that abuts the historical, is that all
The patio's done. It looks phenomenal. I mean,
It's all tied together.
good?
I wish we could have had, if it was done a little earlier and it could have grass start taking instead of, I call it painted green dirt, but hopefully it'll take in the spring. If not, we'll get it reapplied and get it irrigated and watered.
Great. Any questions for Mark? Thank you, Mark.
New business 11 was previously considered, so request for the West Warwick boys basketball for sponsorship.
Move approval of the request.
Second. Moving second, any discussion?
Oh, they didn't really ask us for an amount, did they?
Just the reduced schedule is 50, 100, or 200.
Exactly.
Pick one.
We typically have 100, right?
Yeah, we usually do
100,
a
100.
half page or a page.
Yep. I would move $100 sponsorship.
Second.
Moving second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. Oh, yeah, sorry, I was so late, sorry.
Oh, I was like, oh, wow.
And as far as new business 13, I ask that you guys take no action on that item this evening as some other things develop that might save us some money, so.
Works for me.
Absolutely.
See you in January.
Maybe we'll just take no action.
Take no action.
Upcoming appointments, sewer use board of review, appointment to fill a vacancy as an alternate member for a 3-year term. Sewer use board of review, appointment to fill a vacancy as a regular member for a 3-year term. Tax assessment board of review, appointment to fill a vacancy for a 3-year term. School building committee, recreation committee, West Warwick 250th commission, Tuxet River Authority. Appoint and to fill a vacancy for an unexpired term ending June 2026. Public forum.
Public comment.
This can-
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Tom Oak, 6 Colonial Way. Mr. Palazzo's not able to be here this evening, so I'm taking over for him. So I got a list. Came to my attention from actually one of my clients in court. I had to give this person a ride and she had to do a pickup. And I was kind of taken aback. And I believe most of you know what we're talking about here. We have a vending machine outside the cotton shed, right across from the gazebo. It's 328 feet, I believe, from Horgan School. And if anyone would like to see what's available in this vending machine, I got some stocking stuffers, if you like, and I'm not gonna bother passing it around. Kind of appalling that this stuff is available, but what shocked the daylights out of me. I have a squeaky clean record and I don't wanna disturb it with anything, so I was very apprehensive about putting my license identification out to get a code number to use this machine. Only to find out you don't need any identification. Called the number, spoke to a very nice gentleman. He just wanted to know, out of respect, how to address me. I said, Tom, I'm Tom. Oh, great, Tom. And he told me his name, which I forget at this point. And I said, what do I need to do to get this code? And oh, very easy. He says, how many letters in your last name? 5. So then your birthday, what do you claim for a birthday? So I gave him a fictitious birthday. He wanted to know my zip code. That's it. And the zip code just to direct me to the right machine. So I got a code that has to do with the number of letters in my last name and 6 digits of my birthday. He said, you're all set. You can go anytime. You can go, this is 1 day's stocking stuffers. You can get up to 3 of the same item in a week, and you can get 7 different items in a day. And then this is 1 day, and at the end of the week, you start another week, and you can get this stuff. I understand. I consider this drug paraphernalia. And I do understand after speaking to the chief, there's no such thing as drug paraphernalia anymore. This is all legal. And the things in this bag would shock the daylights out of you. Not only drug paraphernalia, I'm going to use the term because that's all I can think. Needles, the little cups, the aluminum cups to cook your heroin in and your cocaine, and the needles to put it in. They've got 5 or 6 different size needles. They have love packages with all the things for safe sex that you could possibly imagine. There's a box of Band-Aids too, and plenty of Narcan. Our society, and I'm not blaming anyone in this room because it's way above your heads. This country, we have come to enable drug use. There was a time where it was frowned upon. Drug use, drug addicts, people would get them help, not give them the stuff to do it. And that's what we're doing here at the cost to the taxpayers. And this machine is, I think it's 320 feet from Horgan School. And we've had such a problem with the needles and the crap from the homeless people that are left outside of Horgan School, and I know that our staff have to put themselves in danger to go inspect the schoolyard every morning to make sure that there's nothing there.
Where did you say, all right, you said Horgan School, you said gazebo at first.
Gazebo,
So
yeah,
I'm
I
trying
said-
to look, I'm trying to picture.
Oh,
Yeah,
don't listen to me, just know what I mean.
okay.
I meant the,
Thank you.
the,
I was like,
the
okay,
caboose.
yeah.
Thank you,
You mean
the caboose.
Okay,
All right,
It's a late day.
okay.
all right, so
So it's right
you
across.
drive into where's it?
Thunderman's parking up against their building.
Oh,
It's right up against the building, so if you're coming up Hay Street, it's right there, and it's lit up like it's bright, it's lit up like a Christmas tree. But, going by there, I know, I have a friend, he's got a son. And we're not gonna go into his information, but 17-year-old straight A student at Hendricken. He had his son call, and these young guys, they got a deep voice now, they don't sound like little kids. But anyway, he called, he bumped his birthday up by 5 years, they gave him a number. Dad took him down there and pushed a button, he got himself some, what's the Narcan. And the dad was freaked by this. So anyone can do this, you don't have to show any identification, and you can get all this product from these machines. There are 4 of these machines in the state. And I'll tell you, I don't wanna hold everybody up, but I wanna tell you about this. There are 4 of these machines in this state. Broad Street, Providence, Huntington Avenue, Providence, Community Health, Atwood Avenue, Providence, and Fundamentalist, Providence Street, West Warwick. What happened to the drug issues that they have in Pawtucket, Central Falls, Woonsocket, Newport? Those are all heavy drug use towns, cities in our state. They don't have any of this stuff. I don't know why West Warwick was picked. We've got a black eye, and we've got to do something. I mean, maybe looking into the location of this machine and moving it so it's not in plain sight and so close to that school. Because the kids walk out of the school, I believe we have kids that still walk. They get on the bike path and they go this way and that way, and they're just a couple of feet from this machine. I'm just stunned. And I know none of you people have any, I don't want to say control or knowledge, but I think it needs to be something that we should look into for the protection of our community. It's out of control with the drug use, and I just don't know which way to go. Number 2, to follow in Alan's footsteps. What's 5 years, yes, what you do. Okay, what's up with this fiasco at Route 2 and 3? Those are state highways, I do understand, correct? Cohasset and Quaker Lane, those are state roads, correct? When they took a quarter of an acre, maybe a third of an acre of land for that interchange to go out onto Route 2 South and gave it to the car dealership, because they got their cars parked right out in the corner now, all over there. And now you have to go out, straight out, and take a hard right when you get a light on 2. That has bogged traffic down so bad, you have put half a dozen or more businesses on life support because of that traffic. How come West Warwick was not involved in that decision, and or just a workshop to put a point of view? Because it was done 25, 30 years ago. I don't know how old I am now. Mary Beth, give me a clue, because we're close. When was the Walmart?
You're a lot older than I am, Tom. Come
When
on.
was the Kmart down there where the car dealership is? They took a huge piece of land. It was the same thing. Do you remember that? That was,
I wasn't born yet,
oh, come on, not that
and
old.
for the record, I'm 51, so it was 1972.
Was it in the 70s? And they took that land and gave it to Inskip.
Lexus and.
And now you have to come all the way out to 117 Sentinel Road and take a hard right, where you used to have a nice curve to go in and there was never any traffic. Do we have any input on this?
So, I know I'm probably gonna say it's public comment, but I'll tell you that it's a state road. Police purchased it from the state. As far as I know, they paid for all the, maintenance
Yeah.
and remaking of it. I take that road every day, coming home, getting going. It's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. I'm gonna say that.
Where at
I take it every day,
2 and
7,
3?
8 o'clock in the morning. I take it every day, no problems. The only time there's a problem was when there was construction on the left side of coming down Cohasset Ave when they were doing their finish work. But as of,
8:30 this morning. Coming up, I'm stopped by, I'm at Cumberland Farms in traffic to get up to 2. And it's just, I would think that the town should have input and the state should ask the communities that they do these projects and what is your input? And at least listen to what, you guys would have to say. I don't know who we reach out to at the State House to make sure that when they do projects like this, they take into consideration the communities.
I think,
Now-
and by the way, Tom, I think that discussion actually started probably when Councilman Callis was here.
Yeah,
And it took years in the making to actually happen, so.
I know it goes back. And, Mr. Knott shoveled the shingles off my roof on the last one because it's on the, I didn't read it on the agenda. The mess that we had at the high school, the civic center playground up there, Factory Street, that was a shot in the foot. And it was a long process that you guys learned something from that, because that project down in Crompton, grand slam. I mean, I go by there almost every day. I'm amazed at how beautiful that has turned out. So we learn from mistakes. So kudos to everybody involved in that project, because it looks great. Lastly, very Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom, you too.
There, 362 and Jeff. Playground Crompton. Great job. Question. Factory Street got hit with vandalism. We all know that. What do we have in place to protect this playground? Apparently, whatever we have in place for Factory Street isn't working, which is nothing. So how do we protect this investment we have in Crompton? Is that in the APRA funds? I mean, I listed all the APRA funds out the window. I'm saying to myself, shouldn't we have done like some kind of security camera through the APRA funds for that? And maybe something, I think we already had something in place for Factory Street. When the parking lot was gonna get done, but the parking lot didn't get done, so. These are valuable assets to the town that are being vandalized and nobody can see who's doing what. So is there a plan? We just shut the lights off and pray to God it's not spray painted.
Yeah, for the time being, we'll obviously consider if we want to invest in cameras there. Obviously, we need to be able to monitor them to make them truly effective. I'm not sure we have that capacity. Just being able to watch and identify after the fact. But that's something that we'll consider as we move forward, other than obviously increasing police patrol presence. And obviously engaging some of the neighbors there. Hopefully they're very happy with it and will help be some of our eyes and ears out there.
I mean, camera systems are pretty simple around. I mean, somebody can get a text message when there's movement there, or, I mean, I'm just saying, that's a lot of money went in there, it looks good. And don't take long, somebody walk by with a spray can, stop painting, as we know. So, just keep in mind.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? All right. Moving on.
Rhode Island Heritage Harbor Foundation to honor Patrick Henry Quinn with a plaque presentation to the town.
How's it feel to be back?
We're all a little grayer, Mr. Williamson.
Mayor, if you want to invite anybody else up, the school committee is done, so they don't need these seats anymore, so anyone else that wants to get closer is welcome.
Mr. President, members of the council, our manager, thank you for having us here this evening. We have a very brief speaking engagement, and we also have some books for everybody that's here tonight that will coincide with what we're about to do. So rather than me saying anything about this, we have representatives from our agencies that are here tonight for this important unveiling, if you will. All I will say is that if you want to step back in time to 1913, this is what we're talking about. Revolutions in the air. There was a revolution to secede from the then town of Warwick. And one individual really led the charge, and that's why we're here tonight, Patrick Henry Quinn. Remarkable in its nature and unbelievable that this happened. And so we, as West Warwick, are the youngest, oldest town in the state of Rhode Island. At this time, I would like to call to the podium a fellow that most Rhode Islanders know. He's the historian laureate of the state of Rhode Island. He's the president of the Heritage Harbor Foundation, which is sponsoring this evening. He's also the president emeritus of the Rhode Island Heritage Hall of Fame and is a prolific writer, former Providence College professor, and the list goes on and on and on. But Dr. Pat Conley is going to take us back in time and what was happening around the then town of Warwick in the village of, well, Jericho, I guess it was then. So without any further ado, Dr. Conley.
Thank you very much, Michael. You say that he has aged a little bit. He's a director of the Heritage Harbor Foundation, and out of respect, I call him the old gray mare. Tonight, there could be three parts to this, like all gold is divided into three parts. One is to tell you just briefly about the Heritage Harbor Foundation, what it is, what it does. Secondly, to talk a little bit about our honoree, the Colonel Quinn, and we have here Judge Bruce Moran, who's a member of the family, that can come up after I talk about the foundation briefly, and he'll tell a little of the story about the career. And then I'll try to conclude it by talking about that so-called revolution that Mayor LeVake referred to. And I think you'll find that very, very interesting as to how West Warwick came into existence and why. Because that can only be fully understood and appreciated if you are familiar with the political culture, the political milieu of the late 19th and early 20th century in Rhode Island. So those are the three parts. I'll talk about the foundation first. The foundation is a $3.6 million trust with its money invested in the Rhode Island Foundation. The money was derived from the sale of the projected Rhode Island History Museum, the Heritage Harbor Museum, that was slated to open in the old Narragansett Electric Power Plant down on the Providence waterfront. And unfortunately, a unwise change in the historic tax credit program cost us the developer who did Royal Mills down here, and then the Great Recession. And those two setbacks prompted the sale of the building, and they had brought me in at the very end to be the president of the Heritage Harbor Foundation, which was like giving me the captaincy of the Titanic. And so what I did in essence was to negotiate
with Commonwealth investors that wanted to put a medical school, nursing school there on the site, and had also associations with Brown University. And we got the 3.6 million. I deposited it, and that generates about $160,000 a year. And since 2016, when this occurred, we've been able to give out about $550,000 in historic and heritage-oriented grants to 73 different Rhode Island nonprofit organizations. In addition to that, we've published 41 books and booklets through the medium of the Rhode Island Publication Society, an organization that I founded back in 1974 when I headed up RI 76. And one of those books is Fighting Bob Quinn, and we brought copies of that book for all of you. The book is something that was prepared largely through one of our directors, former Speaker Matthew Smith, who interviewed Judge Robert Emmett Quinn on a number of occasions. And another one of our directors, Rusty Sabot, who's here with us tonight, transcribed those interviews. And I wrote a general lengthy introduction on the life of Patrick Henry Quinn, and especially Robert Emmett Quinn, to introduce this book. So all that you need to know about the Quinns and their impact on not only West Warwick, but the state will be there. Because in my opinion, speaking as historian laureate, from 1922 to 1938, they had a greater impact on Rhode Island politics than any other Rhode Islander. That was their golden age. And the other gift that part of those 41 books is the State of Rhode Island Politics and Government. We published that in conjunction with URI. Maureen Moakley, the principal architect of the book, and it contains about 15 chapters relating to all facets of Rhode Island government, from the state government to local government, and a number of the issues that are significant here in Rhode Island. So we brought those here to you. And we've also done a World War II memorial, a large memorial in Woonsocket, and we put it next to the old Bannigan rubber mill, because we wanted not only to honor the combat veterans, but also the workers of production. Because in that rubber mill, the Ghost Army was built, that rubberized army of tanks and guns and all, that was placed opposite at Calais, opposite France, and divided the German forces. So the Rommel had to keep a sizable contingent opposite the Ghost Army, diminishing the German presence down at Normandy. And so we paid a tribute, particularly to those Woonsocket workers that prepared the Ghost Army. And then finally, we've, among other things, we've been doing the presentation of historical plaques around the state to make the general public more familiar with the very significant history that we have. And the plaque that's going to be unveiled tonight is one of those in that particular project. So that, in essence, is the Heritage Harbor Foundation. And now we have here Judge Bruce Moran, and he is here as a representative of the Quinn family, and he will be giving a summarization of the life of Patrick Henry Quinn, so you'll get an idea of the character of the person that, in essence, created the town of West Warwick. So if we could have Judge. All set.
All right.
Judge Bruce Moran, who I'm sure you know.
Mayor, Dr. Conley, members of the council. I thought, having been in this chamber frequently back in the 1970s and 80s as an assistant town solicitor and counsel to the zoning board, I know at the end of these meetings how quickly you people would like to get out of here, so I promise you that I won't take too long, but I thought that it might be interesting, at least since we're gonna unveil a plaque in honor of Colonel Patrick Henry Quinn, to give you a little brief history of his life. He was born actually 155 years ago yesterday, on December 16, 1869, in Phoenix, which was then a part of the town of Warwick. He went to the Warwick Public Schools. He graduated from elementary school in 1881, when he was 12 years old. And that was the end of his formal education. He never went to high school, he never went to college, he never went to law school. But he self-studied, and he became a very prominent attorney who might have been one of the greatest orators in the history of the state of Rhode Island, according to some of the things that I've been able to discover about him. Senator John O. Pastore's family might disagree with that characterization, but I'll stand on behalf of my ancestors and take his side. When he was 12 years old, he became a child laborer and went to work in the finishing room of the then Clyde Print Works, and he stayed there for the next 9 years. Child laborers were very common in the 1800s. He took the path of a lot of Irish Catholics by engaging in labor union activity and legal training and activity within the Democratic Party. He studied law under a man by the name of Edward Gannon in Providence. You didn't have to go to law school at that time. All you had to do was be proficient enough to be able to pass the bar exam, which he did in August of 1895 when he was 28 years old. Colonel Patrick Henry Quinn was interested in politics from a very early age. He assisted Democratic candidates throughout the state by helping them with rallies and other things. And eventually he became chairman of the Warwick Democratic Town Committee, a position that he served for approximately 10 years. He also served on the Warwick Town Council. He was probate judge in Warwick, and he was also the town solicitor. In 1903, he was appointed by then Governor Lucius Garvin to the position of Rhode Island Colonel. It was a position that was awarded to people who had shown exemplary service to the state of Rhode Island over the course of their life. And it was a title that Colonel Patrick Henry Quinn was most fond of and most proud of during his entire life. In 1913, he helped to create the 39th municipality, that is the now existing town of West Warwick. Warwick at the time was really divided into two parts, not the three parts that Dr. Connolly talked about, but two parts. The industrialized western part of the town and the more rural eastern part of the town. And he actually received a lot of help from the people in the eastern part of the town who I think really wanted to get rid of him. They wanted him to let him create his own town so that he would stop being a pest, because while he served on the Warwick Town Council, the first motion that he made every time they had what's the equivalent of our financial town meeting, he would stand up and move that there would be no tax increase for the coming year, which of course got voted down by the Republicans who controlled the town of Warwick at that time. So anyway, he got the General Assembly to pass a resolution allowing Warwick to be split into two parts. And in 1913, he became the first town council president in West Warwick. I think he's probably one of the only people ever who served both on the Warwick Town Council for a number of years and then served as the president of the West Warwick Town Council. In 1914, he left his position as president of the West Warwick Town Council, and he was the Democratic standard bearer for the office of governor of the state of Rhode Island. He was unfortunately beaten by Robert Beckman, the Republican, by less than 10,000 votes, and he went back after that to practicing law and to remaining a member of the Democratic State Committee. He went to every national convention between 1914 and his death in 1956, and he served as the chairman of the Rhode Island delegation to the Democratic National Convention during all of that time. He died in 1956. But before I conclude, I want to tell you one other thing. In the spirit of bipartisanship, as strong a Democrat as he was, in his law office, he hired two people who were strong Republicans and who became very, very famous in the state of Rhode Island. In the law firm of Quinn and Quinn, which was Colonel Patrick Henry Quinn's office and my grandfather, Robert Emmett Quinn, they hired John Chafee when he was a fledgling lawyer. John Chafee then became, as everyone knows, the mayor of the city of Warwick, the governor of Rhode Island, and the United States senator. The second hire of a Republican who came to much prominence was Joseph Weisberger, who eventually became a senator, a Republican state senator from East Providence. And because the Democrats were afraid that he might win a gubernatorial race, they decided they'd get rid of him by offering him a seat on the Rhode Island Superior Court, which he accepted. He served on the Rhode Island Superior Court with distinction for many, many years and became the presiding justice, which is the chief judge of the Superior Court. And then he was elevated to the Rhode Island Supreme Court, where he eventually became the chief judge and then retired. Anyway, that's a quick overview of the Colonel's life, and I thought maybe it might help shed some information for people who obviously would not have any idea of who he was, because he would have been 155 years old yesterday. So thank you for your time, and I hope that we can get you out of here real soon.
Thank you, Bruce. And full disclosure, Bruce is the oldest in this generation. He is my cousin, and he's the oldest Quinn grandchild. So thanks, Bruce.
Thank you for inviting me.
And now to part three, and we'll try to make that as quickly as possible. The date that Bruce correctly mentioned of December 16th was the birth, and when the foundation decided on a date, we said, let's get as close as we possibly can to give a belated posthumous birthday to Patrick Henry Quinn. So we're here just a day later to accommodate the council. I said that also that I try to give a picture of the milieu in which West Warwick was created. And Bruce mentioned that there was cooperation between Warwick and Quinn in the establishment of the town. And to understand that, and that's a correct statement, to understand that, you have to understand the milieu of Rhode Island in the late 19th and early 20th century. The Law and Order Party that vanquished Thomas Wilson Dorr had placed enormous power in the state Senate. And the Senate was structured in such a way that each city and town had one senator, regardless of the population. And so what the Republicans did after they were formed in the 1850s was try to make sure that the Senate, which prepared the budget, approved gubernatorial appointments, and if they rejected them, they appointed their own, that somehow that Senate would be controlled. And what happened, for example, in the late 19th century, in 1871, Smithfield was divided into North Smithfield, Smithfield, and Lincoln, create three rural Republican senators. But all of a sudden in the Blackstone Valley, Irish, French Canadians rush in to a corner of Lincoln called Central Falls. And so now they outnumber the rural Republican folk. So what happens in 1895 is that the Republican General Assembly sets off Central Falls as a city. It's got a population of 18,000. So you put the immigrants all in 1.32 square miles. The remainder of Lincoln, 19 square miles, stays Republican, and they get to hold on to their senator, which of course would have been lost to them had the division not taken place. And Providence did the same thing. From 1868 to 1919, Providence had 9 re-annexations where they took back land that had been part of the original Providence from 3 communities, from Cranston, from Johnston, and from North Providence. They started in 1868. They took back a big chunk along the river. They took back South Providence, Washington Park, and Elmwood. It was a good thing they did that because I grew up in South Providence. I would have been a Cranstonian had they not. They took Johnston, Silver Lake, Oneyville, back into Providence. They took the Elmhurst, Mount Pleasant, the North End from North Providence back into Providence. So you had a situation by 1920 that Providence had a population of 237,000. They had 1 senator. West Greenwich, good old country folk, had a population of 367. They had 1 senator. And that population, of course, if you got the women didn't vote until 1920, and you have children, so you only have 30 or so individuals to cast a vote. So Boss Brayton, the Republican boss, used to go into these rural towns, and he'd pay for the support of the electorate. And sometimes in those towns, there'd be a significant number of Democratic votes, and that a very minor number, but it annoyed him, and it caused him to make the statement once that an honest voter is one that stays bought. And that was basically his philosophy. So now we get to West Warwick and Warwick. By 1913, the influx of Irish, French Canadians, Portuguese, Italians, Polish into this area had reached a point that they were the dominant group. You might say the ethnic element was the dominant group in the original Rhode Island town of Warwick, which was founded way back in 1643. And so when Quinn looked to give a voice to you might say, newer Americans, the Republicans in the General Assembly were very receptive, as Bruce has stated, because had Warwick stayed together, then the ethnics would have dominated. You had a situation, in other words, where by the census of 1920, West Warwick had a population of 15,461, and Warwick a population of 13,481. And so Warwick, it was numerically on the downside. So they were more than happy to allow the General Assembly, of course, being in control of the Republican Party, to allow Quinn's plan to set West Warwick off to succeed. And therefore, on November the 4th of 1913, West Warwick officially became a town, the last of the Rhode Island towns, the 39th. And this project really of what I call political mitosis, or political cell division, that was practiced from the time of the Door Rebellion down through the first 2 decades of the 20th century, that pretty much came to an end. So West Warwick is a product of that battle really to control the Senate, which in effect controlled the state, because under our Constitution, until they had the separation of powers amendments in 2006, the dominant branch of government was the General Assembly, and the dominant branch of the General Assembly was the Senate. And hence, that's a little bit of a background as to the rationale for the creation of West Warwick. And so we can thank Colonel Patrick Henry Quinn. I noticed in the emails, we have a colonel also, your town manager. Is that not so?
That's correct. They're retired from the police department.
Oh, very good. Oh, you're colonel in the police department. Well, you're now, you've got 3 colonels. because I was chairman of the bicentennial in 1976. I wrote some material that the governor of Alabama had seen. We had a national convention of all the state chairs down in Mobile, Alabama. I got called out of the audience. And lo and behold, the governor of Alabama made me an honorary colonel in the Alabama State Militia, which is bad for me because I'm a Notre Dame guy. And they'll probably but you know who I can root for when they play. And so, in fact, he said to me when he brought me up, he said, Dr. Conley, he said, I'm pleased to make you an honorary colonel in the Alabama State Militia, because unlike those other Nolan professors, you are not overeducated for your brain. And I said, thank you, Governor. And I went to talk, and he said, please, Doctor, this is my show. And this is your show now. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, with your permission, we'll unveil the plaque, but I just wanted to acknowledge the presence of the president of the Rhode Island Heritage Hall of Fame, Larry Reed, who's sitting right there. So I guess the time has come for us to see what the plaque looks like. So if the two of you want to, it's right behind that one. All right.
It's right there, yeah.
Dr. Conley says his dentist removes his plaque.
Yeah. Yeah. You get my back, that's the best thing.
Wait a minute, before you do it, I want to get it, so. Not that I'm very good at this, but okay. Go ahead. You ready? Ready.
Oh, that's good, huh? That's good. Oh, that's very nice. Yes.
Doctor, look this way, please. All right, Senator or Judge?
Yes.
I think either one. Either one.
Can I get one more?
Actually, I'd like
I'd
to.
rather be a senator. I was much younger than Mike.
I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Mike. Mike was the driving force behind that, and I guess Mike and Bruce had some conversations some time ago, and
We did.
Dr. Conley, thank you very much for being, or Colonel Conley, I'm sorry. Thank you very much for being here.
Get it right.
Yeah.
And by the way, one other person here, this gentleman here, Rusty Simone, is the individual that did the transcriptions of Matt Smith's interviews with Fighting Bob Quinn. And that book is largely his, and another director that's here, is General James D'Agostino, another Hall of Fame director, foundation director.
One more picture.
Thank you all for being here.
You wanna wait that?
Let me see the plaque.
You want us to get out of the picture?
Actually, you can get the plaque if you need to.
That's very nice. That's a lovely plaque.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And finally, Mr. President, members of council, with your permission, we have some coffee and pastry, and through Dr. Conley's leadership, we have Fighting Bob Quinn book for everyone, and Dr. Conley has another book for the council and school committee as well.
Thank you.
Thank you
very
for your
much.
kindly.
Before we close out, that was definitely one heck of a history lesson here in West Warwick for people who don't know. Mary Beth, I know it is your grandfather, well, great grandfather,
So Patrick Henry Quinn is my great uncle,
great uncle.
yes.
So I have one question. You don't plan on splitting up Wakefield Street and making it Quinnville or anything, you do?
Just like Whoville, it's
All right,
that time
just
of year.
Just
All
want to
right.
make sure
Yes.
that's not happening, but, no, and Mike reached out to me later in the game, and, you know, people who don't know, we have a lot of history right here in this building. Our first mayor, Michael V, still stays very well involved in the community through all the years. We have former school committee chairman in the back for many years, Danny Burns. Glad to see you, Danny. How you
Thanks,
been?
Dan, for being here.
Like you said, Mr. Moran's here, you know, former senator, judge. So, you know, a lot of history here in West Warwick, right here in this room. So thank you, and thank you for all the hard work that you guys do, and everybody who was involved in making this happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, one more piece of history, if I may.
Sure.
I did some research for the evening, and I was looking into the
auspicious date that West Warwick came into being, November 4th, 1913. On that day, which was a Tuesday and an election day, the first time United States senators were elected by popular election. Heretofore, there was no popular election of US senators. And on that date, at least in Massachusetts, things haven't changed much. There were Democrats, Republicans, and progressives vying for those Senate seats in Massachusetts. So the more things change, the more they stay the same.
That's
So,
exactly.
so let me give you another one. In 2013, former council president Ed Giroux was asking the mayor of Warwick, Aberdeen, if he would take us back. So 100 years later, he was asking to take us back. So
There you go.
We're
What goes
thankful,
around comes around.
we're thankful he did not. Yes.
we are very
yes,
thankful. But
Yes,
it was at the time
a difficult time.
a joke, but it was kind of like, hey, what can you do? What can we do to help each other?
And in 1913, another point to it, I was president of the Hall of Fame at that time and nominated and inducted Patrick Henry Quinn, the 100th anniversary of the founding of West Warwick, and he became, in that year, in 2013, a member of the Rhode Island Heritage Hall of Fame.
Nice.
Thank you.
With that being said, we, like Mayor Mike said, we do have refreshments out in the hallway and, you know, I know that that's adjourned, but I'd like to wish everybody a safe, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2025.
Thank you very
The
much.
same to you. Thank you. Thank you.
Officially?
Motion to adjourn 2024.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.